Hey there. This is a video all about how to play the fundamental sheet. So you should have a fundamental sheet that says concert B flat major fundamental sheet. So fundamentals for band, concert B flat major. If you're in a different, it'll also say your key of B flat major, or maybe for trumpets, it'll say your key of C. I'm not going to get into why it says that for right now. That's for another day. However, I'm going to play the flute for this video. So we are going to start with number 2. This is the long tones. I'm also going to have a metronome happening while I play this. That way we can keep a nice steady beat. I'm just literally Googling metronome. Very easy. I'm going to set it for warm-ups and everything. I'm going to set it like 75. There we go. We got the metronome at 75 to keep a nice steady beat. This fundamental sheet is really nice. It's very easy. There's nothing super complicated about it. You can really just focus on making a good sound. That's the whole point, though. That's what fundamentals are in band, just making a good tone production. Sometimes we're working on articulation and how we're tonguing things, or what kind of strokes we're using. Sometimes we're, working on other kinds of things, but for this fundamentals for band sheet, we're really just going to be, it's all about good tone production. Are we breathing enough? Is our embouchure set the correct way? Or do we have the correct grip on our mallets? Those are the things that we're really focusing on. That's why it's so easy. All the notes are really easy so that you can really concentrate on how you're making a sound and what's coming out of your instrument. So to make sure that it's beautiful, because honestly, you can be able to play super fast, super high, super crazy music, but if you don't sound good, no one's going to want to listen to you, and you're not going to want to listen to yourself. So here we go. Number 2. 1, 2, ready? So that was number 2. Don't even ask me why the whole page of music starts with number 2 and not number 1. There's a reason. I'll get into it another time. Here's number 3, back and forth. And number 3 might look tricky. You might look at it and be like, ooh, it's like all quarter notes. It's moving. Every note's moving. But just take a look at it. Look at the first note. Look at the second note. They're right next to each other, right? And then it repeats. So it's B flat C, B flat C, rest, 2, start on C this time. C, D, C, D. It's just going up to the very next note. And I know that, if you're clarinet or you're a trumpet or you're saxophone or French horn, like that's not going to be the same letters. The letters I just said won't make sense to you. It makes sense for flute and percussion and low brass, but you can see that it just goes up to the very next pitch. So it's not really that big of a deal. All right, here we go. Number 3. 1, 2, ready? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, number 4 is just like number 2, but they are quarter notes, and there's no rest in between each pitch. When I say pitch, I mean the letter name. When I say note, I mean like the duration, like quarter notes or half notes or whole notes. So if you look, number 4 and number 2 are really the same except for the duration, right? The notes, and then there's no rest in between. So 1, 2, ready. All right, and once we get really good at that, I like to do it like double time, like in eighth notes. So it would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. If you want to try it, let's do it. Here we go. 1, 2, ready. All right. So anyway, here's number 5, flexibility. I like this one a lot. If you look, flexibility is similar to number 3. You know, so you're starting off with the first note of the scale, you know, and then you're going to the second note of the scale. And then you rest. And then you start on the first note of the scale and then go to the third note of the scale. Then you rest. And then it's first note of the scale and then fourth note of the scale. And then you rest and then it's first note and then fifth note. So you end up jumping up a fifth after that, which is kind of cool. Here we go. 1, 2, ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, I like that one a lot. Number 6 has slurs in it. So remember, the trombones can't do this, and technically mallets, you know, your percussion, you're not going to be slurring either because you're not using air. But remember, a slur is you're going to tongue the first note and keep blowing and move your fingers for the slurred notes. So instead of for the first measure sounding like this, they're going to be connected. So I'm going to tongue that B flat like I just did, but I'm not going to tongue the C, the second note. I'm going to just keep blowing and move my fingers. So watch. See, they were connected. That's called a slur. So that's how we play number 6. Here we go. 1, 2, ready. Rest. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, second line. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and isn't that one nice? All right, number 7. This one's a little tricky. It's called thirds, and here's why. So you're starting on the first note of the scale, and then you're jumping up to the third note of the scale. And then you rest, and then you start on the second note of the scale, and you're jumping up to the fourth note of the scale. And then you start on the third note of the scale, and you jump up to the fifth. So when you, that interval, and actually we're going to learn more about intervals next week, that interval is called a third. You start from the first note of the scale, you go to the second, and then you skip to the third note of the scale, that's a third. If you start on the second note of the scale, and then you go to the third note of the scale, and you skip to the fourth note, that's a third. If you're going from 2, 3 to 4, that's a third. And then if you're going to the third note of the scale, and you're skipping to the fifth, so third, fourth, up to the fifth, that's also a third. That distance between those two pitches is called a third. We're going to talk more about that next week. That's why this one's called thirds. This one's probably the trickiest one, so it's okay if you have to practice it a few times before you get it. Here we go, number 7. 1, 2, ready. 1, 2, second note of the scale. 1, 2, third note of the scale. And that is your fundamentals for band sheet, concert B flat fundamentals. You should do this like every time you practice. It's a great, great warm-up.